What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're gonna be jumping into the next one on our Netherlands journey, digging deep into the Dutch economy from Economic Raven. We're already subscribed up. Make sure if you like the content, go do the same. Show them some love. They'll be down inside of the description. Let's dig a little deep into the Dutch economy. We've already dug a little deep into Dutch history. We've dug pretty deep into Dutch history, actually. So let's learn a little bit more about the economy. Let's go.
Known for windmills, tulips, tall people, and stealing the land from the sea, the Netherlands.
Tall, attractive people. Let's not forget that word. Remember from the other video.
Known for windmills, tulips, tall people, and stealing the land from the sea, the Netherlands is among the top 20 biggest economies in the world and a GDP per capita of over $50,000. If you are Dutch, don't forget to share your opinions in the comment section below. The geographic location of the country is both its best and worst feature. Best because it serves as a European trade hub. Worst because a quarter of the country is below sea levels. But the country's non-stop battle against water has made it an expert in water management, dredging, and flood protection. It is truly exceptional to see how the Dutch managed all the delta works, dams, dikes, and polders. It's a story of remarkable engineering and human resilience. He's
not lying. We have learned so much. The Dutch are a very resilient people. I can't imagine just all of the trials and failures throughout the years to have to fit to where we came up with something that actually works. Something that now people are no longer even afraid of the whole living below sea level, where me as an American, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to live there because what happens when the sea comes back? But they're just like, you know what? We got this. Like, we've learned a lot. We learned that there has been some tragedies in the past. But there's also been a lot of innovation and technology and new things popping up that help them battle this water situation quite well, comparatively speaking to other countries, America.
Dikes and polders. It's a story of remarkable engineering and human resilience from which the world could learn a lot, considering the rising sea levels is a topic of concern for many countries. The Dutch are...
They don't even seem concerned about that, terrifyingly enough.
Highly individualistic. There is this topic that individualistic societies are more likely to gain economic success collectively, but it's debatable. On the other hand, the government traditionally had a higher regulatory role in the economy. The government's economic interventions were significantly reduced back in the 1980s when market economy was professed worldwide. This resulted in considerable privatization as well as the restructuring of welfare programs. Nonetheless, it remains highly regulated but still a market economy. In fact, it is arguably often referred to as the birthplace of modern capitalism. Forget about Amazon, Apple, Google, and so on. Back in the 17th century, the Dutch East India Company, also known as the VOC, was the most valuable company of all times.
Yeah,
it did commit many atrocities and misused its powers with colonialism. Nonetheless, it formalized many modern-day economic principles that serves as a blueprint for modern-era corporations. It was not until the late 1700s that they were replaced by the British as the world's leading trading nation. The tradition of being merchants and traders carries on as the country's economy continues to be highly dependent on foreign trade. But there are many lessons one could learn from the economic history of the Netherlands.
We learned a little bit about tulip mania.
Tulips were introduced into Europe from Turkey after 1550. The vibrantly beautiful flowers became immensely popular. Infected by a virus, some varieties of tulips showed varied patterns. As the rich sometimes collect rare items like paintings for ridiculous prices, many wealthy individuals began to collect and display these rare tulips. The demand for mixed-colored tulips exceeded the supply, and prices of these rare bulbs skyrocketed.
The rare tulip bulbs were because of a virus that the flower has? That's interesting. I would have never thought that a virus would just change a flower's color like that, but I've never actually thought about it either. Well, seems like we're going to go a little bit deeper into the whole tulip craze. But we've done a lot of stuff where it was basically, yeah, we have tulips and yeah, we grow them. And yeah, at one point somebody was eating them and you could trade them for a house. Like that's literally the information that we got from some of these tulip videos. This already started off better.
Prices, many wealthy individuals began to collect and display these rare tulips. The demand for mixed colored tulips exceeded the supply, and prices of these rare bulbs skyrocketed. In early 1600, a single bulb of a new variety was satisfactory as dowry for a bride, or as a payment for a thriving brewery in France. The madness reached its peak in Holland during 1633 to 1637. Many people thought that the whole of Europe and possibly the whole world would want to own tulips. The prices elevated to an extent that a single flower was priced more than some houses. While trades were done as cash for the bulbs, many bulbs were sold and resold as a future contract without even leaving the ground.
I'm just saying, ain't no flower worth that much to me.
1637, with a drastic collapse in prices and many losing their fortunes. Tulip mania, often described as the first recorded speculative bubble, is a perfect example of how people forget how much of an intrinsic value an asset holds. They bought more and more in hopes to sell them later for profits. It may seem silly to buy a tulip for, let's say, $1 million, but if you believe you can sell it for $2 million after a certain time, then it just seems like a very reasonable decision as well as a rational investment. This is known as the greater fool theory. Some people have compared tulip mania with numerous economic bubbles, including Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, while others oppose the similarities between the two with different sets of arguments. Recently, some historians have highlighted that tulip mania was highly exaggerated and not many people were involved in it. But these history corrections were only meant to emphasize that tulip mania arguably didn't impact the rest of the Dutch economy. Tulip mania.
So it's just happening parallel, side by side, while everything else was growing. Tulip mania just happened to be there. It didn't necessarily play a part. Is that what we're saying?
Is a cautionary tale of how speculative bubbles are generated. It shows our irrational biases. It shows our tendency to get carried away with anything. Then they collapse and we move on to find a new madness.
Yep.
And the pattern repeats.
Trends and fads and trends and fads.
In 1959, the discovery of natural gas in Groningen had a huge positive impact on the Dutch economy. This discovery was as important for the Netherlands as oil for Norway or banks for Switzerland. While natural gas helped the Dutch economy stretch its wings, it also negatively impacted the overall economy. Now, if this sounds like a paradox, then you are right, because that's what it is. The Dutch disease, a term coined in 1977 by The Economist, highlighted a relationship between the economic growth of one sector compared to the decline in other sectors. The growing sectors are usually natural resources, but not limited to them, while the other sectors could be manufacturing and agriculture. The Netherlands began exporting natural gas, but when the revenue started pouring in, the country's currency guilder began to appreciate. It happens due to the currency's higher demand in the international market. This may sound good, but it wasn't. The appreciation made the Netherlands' exports become expensive for other countries to purchase, putting pressure on the other sectors. Also, the appreciated currency made the imports more affordable for consumers who started preferring imported items over domestically made products. This resulted in further decline of the local manufacturing industry.
Well, you can bet that if the growing sector is getting their money, the import-export sector is going to expect to get their money. If the money over there jumps, the money over there jumps. That's just like business. If you're not getting what you deserve out of business, you better get it to a new business.
Made products. This resulted in further decline of the local manufacturing industry.
But you can screw up the whole economy.
The growing sector, with tons of revenue from exports, offers better wages, which pushes the other sectors to pay more to their workers who would otherwise flee towards the growing sector. But there are only limited people the growing sector could hire. This, along with the decline of other sectors, increases unemployment. Even investors flee towards the growing sector for better profits. The growing sector also brings more revenue for governments, which results in increased government spending that manifests into public infrastructure, military spending, and welfare programs. The welfare programs make the government look good in front of the voters, but if this is done carelessly, it could lead to further issues. For example, if something happens to the growing sector, the welfare programs need to be restructured, which people dislike. The more complex and diverse an economy is, the less likely it is to be impacted by the Dutch disease. The Dutch disease is a result of wealth managed unwisely. The resource curse is real. It shows the riches could be a curse sometimes rather than a blessing. It's a lesson that you shouldn't put all the eggs in one basket. The only thing that cheers up a Dutch more than an unexpected discount is if they could get something for free. The bicycle-friendly people are less inclined towards spending money on branded products. They would rather choose a good product that works for little money. Squeezing out the most for less is a preference, but before you call them greedy, you should know that the Netherlands is among the top countries that spend most on development aid per capita as well as a percentage of gross national income.
Gotta spend money if you want to make money.
There is this Dutch saying that roughly translates to, just act normal, then you're already acting crazy enough.
Yeah.
Not trying to stand out and being content with the normal is the key. This also manifests in people's financial decisions. Also, if you brag about your wealth, the orange-loving people could put you in your place with their stereotypical Dutch straightforwardness and directness. The Netherlands has one of the highest employment rates, which is a measure of the people employed in the working age population. But what stands out is a huge number of people who works part-time. The country has a...
But America is the greatest country in the world. Just remember that. That's what they tell you.
But what stands out is a huge number of people who works part-time. The country has a flexible working culture. The Dutch are relatively more inclined towards working in the evenings or on the weekends. The Netherlands is among the countries with the lowest income inequality. However, wealth inequality is debatable, although it does bring quite polarized opinions. We do like to add that countries with a big middle-class population usually give an impression of low wealth inequality, but that does not mean there aren't super rich people owning a big chunk of the total wealth. Countries with the highest levels of social spending are considered as the welfare states. Public social welfare spending is high in the Netherlands, but it is not among the highest as one would expect, considering they are vocal about their social security and one of the best pension systems. Household debt has reached above 230% of the net disposable income, which is among the highest in the world. If there is anything to complain about other than the rainy, windy weather, that would be the high rents in Amsterdam. The Netherlands ranks high on the cost of living index. The Netherlands has a combination...
I would think that anywhere that is magical like the Netherlands would rank high on the cost of living index, because everybody wants to go there, therefore pushing up the prices.
Netherlands ranks high on the cost of living
especially Amsterdam.
Index.
Most people think the Netherlands is Amsterdam. We have learned that's not the case.
The Netherlands has a combination of growing elderly population and a low fertility rate, which is below the replacement levels. But immigration is a touchy topic in the country. They are less inclined towards more open...
Did we just roll right past the low reproduction rate that's not at the sustainable... What did he just say?
It has a combination of growing elderly population and a low fertility rate, which is below the replacement levels. But immigration is a touchy topic in the country. They are less inclined towards more open immigration policies to increase the working age population, like Canada or Australia. The world's oldest profession is fully regulated and legalized by the government. While it provides safety and fixes many issues, it is also a way for the government to tax it instead of letting it drift away as an underground economy. The Netherlands is...
Of course, he's talking about the red light district. He just didn't want to get too deep into it. Everybody know what we're talking about there.
Among the countries with high tax revenue to GDP ratio, which is a share of a country's output that is collected by the government through taxes. The Dutch residents and companies are among the biggest investors in foreign countries. The country is also home to some of the world's biggest companies, including Royal Dutch Shell, Heineken, and Philips. People have high trust in the government. The Netherlands ranks among the least corrupt countries. However, it also ranks among the top 10 list on the Financial Secrecy Index that ranks countries based on their financial secrecy, offshore financial activities, and illegal financial flows, which are all sophisticated terms for saying it's a tax haven. The country also ranks high on the Corporate Tax Haven Index, helping multinational companies to underpay income taxes. It would be interesting to see if the recent EU harmonization tax plan could influence this whole matter. While the country acts like it's virtuous and on the high moral grounds with the clean energy initiatives, the unusual earthquakes are the real reason behind the discontinuation of natural gas extraction. The Netherlands has a vital position in Europe's distribution network with Schiphol Airport, Rotterdam, and Amsterdam ports, as well as a connection to the Euro corridors. With warehouses and distribution centers, the Netherlands offers its services to big international corporations to supply their goods to Europe. Rotterdam Port is also called the largest German port due to its significance for the economy of Germany.
Wow, it plays that big of a part in Germany as well that they're going to call it
called the largest German port due to its significance for the
That's
economy
hilarious.
of Germany.
It's not even in Germany.
Being part of the Eurozone, the country's monetary policy is controlled by the European Central Bank. The Dutch economy is more strongly tied to the European Union than the UK, so it has more to lose if it goes towards the same path that the United Kingdom took. You can share your opinion on the possibility of Nexit in the comment section below. The Netherlands' inclination to adopt technology for agriculture is impressive, but also natural considering it has a high population density. The Dutch agricultural sector is highly mechanized with greenhouses and associated technology geared towards automation and employing the smallest workforce for the maximum output possible. Wageningen University is like the Stanford of agriculture and consistent.
That place looks bad. That would be a place. That's very cool. This looks like, how in the hell do we have a magic garden inside? Like, come on.
Ranks as number 1. The Netherlands is the second biggest exporter of agricultural products in the world. But if you see rankings of the biggest food producers from different sources, you will notice that the Netherlands is nowhere among the top. Many sources on the internet are linking the value of exports with the innovation happening in the agricultural sector in the Netherlands, and this is false advertising, because many of the exported agricultural products are first imported from other countries, including some countries with low wages, where all kinds of farming techniques are used instead of the high-tech methods used in the Netherlands.
That is what it is. Nobody ever said that they were just among the top exporters of their own stuff. They never said that. It said, hey, they were among the top exporters. How they get the stuff that they export, it is what it is.
Cultural products are first imported from other countries, including some countries with low wages, where all kinds of farming techniques are used instead of the high-tech methods used in the Netherlands. Subsidies,
just
as well
look
as
at America.
And cheap food from developing
you
countries,
see some
keeps
low-tech
the European
farming
Union agricultural sector profitable. A big chunk of agricultural exports include inedible products such as flowers, which are also partly imported from other countries and traded through the Netherlands. However, the country is the European Union's largest meat exporter, with veal and beef exports to Germany, poultry to the United Kingdom, and pork to China. The Dutch can produce more inexpensive pork for China than the Chinese could produce in their own country.
That's
Other
crazy.
important exports are dairy and some vegetables. The Dutch high agricultural exports are based on the value and not by volume. They have access to high-paying countries where quality premium-priced products could be sold. There are many other contributing factors that leads to the agricultural success, such as the logistics, warehouses and distribution network, and an ideal port at the crossroads of Europe with access to large markets. Bulk transport is also comparatively inexpensive, and a homogeneous trade bloc also helps. If you don't have all these benefits, you cannot be as successful as the Netherlands, even if you try to adopt all the fancy equipment and techniques the Dutch agricultural sector is utilizing. The Netherlands is playing with a new theory named donut economics by Kate Raworth, who suggests thinking beyond the traditional economics of infinite growth. The theory is advocating to rise everyone to sufficiency while lowering unsustainable consumption. It sounds more like a proposition for a better management system than a new economic theory, which it is desperately trying to become, packaged into fancy catchwords and morality.
Whatever works, works, though.
Well, we are off to hit some coffee shops. Bedankt for watching the video. We will try to reply to everyone in the comment section below. Please like, subscribe, and share to support the channel.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Digging deep into the Dutch economy. Economic Raven. Definitely go over to show Economic Raven sub love. If you guys enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button. Check out one of the videos up there. Subscribe right here if you want to see more content, possibly your content. Till the next one, I'm highly combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. I love you to the moon and back. Peace.